So there's some albums coming up soon, like Gabe Lee and Lainey Wilson and whatnot, but especially before I get busy with planning all the end of the year content, there's been this pile of albums that I've wanted to talk about, but just haven't yet. So in this video, I'm giving myself 1 minute to go over each of these albums. I'm gonna keep this intro as short as I can because I want the time of the video to align with the amount of albums I talk about. Otherwise, the title will be kind of goofy. Let's just jump right in no particular order with as little cuts as possible. I'm gonna start with Kane Brown and his new album, Different Man. Honestly, I was surprised by how much of this album I liked. It's a long album, 17 songs, but the bulk of it is surprisingly good. Specifically that run of the last 7 songs, other than Losing You, I really like that. I love how much fiddle we got. Even on the poppier songs like Go Around, it's still the most prominent instrument by far. You also get fiddle bangers like Devil Don't Even Bother, which is like a Devil Went Down to Georgia moment. Definitely one of my favorite songs on the album. It's the most likable and catchiest in my opinion, and also the most interesting instrumentally. And lyrically, it's a super fun way of calling a girl hot. Drunk or Dreamin' is this hazy dream country moment that works surprisingly well. It sounds like an earnest cut, nothing crazy, but a fun flavor he threw into the mix. There's still the Kane Brown pop moments like Grand and the snoozer boyfriend country songs like Thank God, which is genuinely painfully vanilla. But on the whole, this album felt surprisingly quality and surprisingly country. I'd say my top 3 would be Whiskey Sour, number 2 would be Devil Don't Even Bother, but that's a close second. And then number 3 is Pop's Last Name, which is a really pretty and vulnerable cut that was nice to hear from someone like Kane. I think he has a very interesting story, 6 out of 10. Honestly, with the Chillers album, I was pretty disappointed, mostly because I just don't think there's a lot here. I don't think these songs pack very much of a punch at all. The arrangements are all very similar, which leads to each 8-song album feeling more like a compilation mix of a song. The songs can also drag at times. There's like extended instrumental solos that just don't bring anything captivating. It's just an empty 16-bar segment featuring the same loop the entire song plays off of. Tyler's voice is also pretty quiet in the mix. Jaded pointed that out on the latest episode of the podcast, which is linked in the description. But then you have to listen to it 3 times. The Hallelujah version just feels hollow in comparison to the Jubilee version, but the Jubilee version can feel busy and crowded at times, and the Joyful Noise version is whatever that is. It's almost like how Elton John's remixing his old songs with people like Dua Lipa nowadays, whatever's going on there. I don't even know if I have a top 3. It's tough because it's only 8 songs. Anyways, it's just really weird, and although I like that he went for a gospel album, in my opinion, it just wasn't worth the wait. I'd probably give it like a 4 out of 10. Drake Milligan has been buzzing lately. He burst onto the scene last year with his self-titled EP. A lot of people very quickly fell in love with his very classic, bellowing voice a la Chrissy Young, and if he very blatantly echoes that late 90s, early 2000s sound, his songwriting can often echo the lightheartedness and humor of someone like Brad Paisley, and musically, he's very comparable to someone like Randall King. But now we have the full album, Dallas/Fort Worth, so technically it's a double album, but who really cares at this point? I prefer the backside of the album. It just has the songs that I've been returning to the most. There's lots of fun, goofy, honky-tonk drinking songs that will be great to play live, but truthfully for me, they can begin feeling a little run-of-the-mill. Like, for as fun as a song like Bad Day to Be a Beer might be, he's really not reinventing the wheel at all. I like the more intimate moments, which is why I like the back half. I like when it gets a little more lush and cinematic with the string sections and everything. Songs like Save It for a Sunny Day, which is a great twist on the saying Save It for a Rainy Day. He just wants to be sad today. He's gonna save Moving On for a sunny day. Then there's Going Down Swinging, which is this top-tier 60s era swinger that is so much fun. My top 3 would be Hearts Don't Break Even, Save It for a Sunny Day, Going Down Swinging, give the album 7 out of 10. I definitely went over the timer there, and I definitely had to make some cuts, but this is a stressful video, man. Charlie Crockett has been doing his outlaw western cowboy thing for a while now, but the man from Waco is definitely more engaging than some of his previous records in my opinion. I like the theme song we get as the intro, and then there's just classic cowboy ballads. I'm Just a Clown is super fun with the horns, a very self-deprecating song, comparing himself to a clown, the joke of the circus that is only there for people to laugh at, definitely stand out to me. Then the murder plots like July Jackson are really interesting to follow along with. I'm listening in my car genuinely wondering what's going to happen next, but while I see the appeal in Charlie Crockett, I still feel on the whole pretty impartial towards the bulk of this album. Although I understand people who enjoy him as like a portal to the past of this super old-timey western cowboy music, I'm still not fully on board. I just think there's people doing the same thing but better, like Coulter Wall or even Sturgill Simpson's latest record, The Ballad of Dude, and Juanita. And I think that's because his voice definitely isn't the most technically impressive. It's very much a storyteller's voice, and also the songs do sound very similar because I think way too often he resorts back to this like 3-syllable cadence where he will go entire songs with no melody, just slowly moving the story along 3 syllables at a time. For that reason, he's not someone I find myself going back to too often, but I'd say my top 3 from this album, I'm Just a Clown, number 2, July Jackson, and number 3, probably just like Honey. I like the melody, and probably 6 out of 10 again. Colby Cooper is another one of these Texas rock guys following in the footsteps of Wetzel, and Colby has definitely begun separating himself as like the next guy in line to hold the torch for Texas country rock scene. I really liked this album straight through, all 13 songs. There's not a single one I would skip. The instruments consistently build to very dramatic climaxes, like the opener Are We on Fire, which has this epic drop like midway through the song. I only have 1 minute, I can't go through each song, but they're all just as worthwhile as the next. Consistently catchy melodies, awesome vocals on every single track, a great mix of driving rock music as well as more Texas country moments that come at the perfect time to keep everything in balance, like the gorgeous Stars Fall Down, which has the one line, and this old six string was going to live in the back of the closet next to the person who I thought I'd be, until his wife found him and picked him up, and he's telling his daughter he's going to do the same thing for them and never give up on them. I love the lyrical variety, with fatherhood becoming a more prevalent theme in his songwriting while also keeping those more electric rock bangers like Excuses. Just a fantastic album. I would definitely be considering it when it comes time for my best albums of 2022. My top 3 would be Are We on Fire, Storms Coming, and Stars Fall Down. 8.5 out of 10. Loving this record. This one will be quick to go through. Maddie and Tae. I debated if I even wanted to talk about this album because not only have Maddie and Tae seemingly been slipping out of relevance for a while now, at least in my eyes, but they also haven't dropped anything that I think is going to change that, and unfortunately I think the same goes for this new album, Through the Madness Volume 2. It's just the same coffee shop mom jean country they've been putting out for a while now. They still have boy issues, and they're still just trying to solve it with like girl wine parties. I don't know, there just weren't any songs that struck me as particularly interesting. I don't like just sitting down, crapping on an album, and then moving on, but I figured why not? I've only got a minute to talk about it, so I may as well throw it in. Probably like a 4 out of 10. Noah Kahan is not country. I talked about him in my fall videos, but it's very instrumental alternative folk music. I think if you're into people like Charles Wesley Godwin, the Lumineers, even maybe Ian Munsick with all the mountain references, I think you will love this album. It is one of my favorite albums of 2022, all genres considered. The songwriting is so substantive and unique. It has Noah written all over it. He finds a way of presenting such brutally honest situations in such a poetic way, while also making it feel very current, like when he references the Dow Jones falling. I love the song Orange Juice, which is Noah inviting a friend over because he knows she's become sober and the party is pretty much over. Everyone has left and won't tempt her with alcohol anymore. Now there's just orange juice on the counter if she wants it. But then there's this really dark shift as this friend completely opens up the floodgates on Noah, explaining how he has changed and how inconsiderate he's become. It is gorgeously tragic. The folk instrumentation just cannot be beaten on songs like All My Love, She Calls Me Back. I cannot get enough of this album. It's one of the most detailed records of the year in every regard, whether that be instrumentally, lyrically, conceptually, scenically. It is stunning in every way, and I figured this video was the perfect opportunity for me to vent about it because I could not keep quiet about this album. My top 3 would be Everywhere, Everything, number 2, Orange Juice, and number 3, Strawberry Wine or She Calls Me Back. It depends on what mood I'm in. Definitely like a 9.5 out of 10. This is incredible. Obviously, I got ridiculously busy with the end of grade 12 and all that comes with graduating high school and blah, 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 blah. So tragically, I missed the 2 biggest albums of 2022, Luke Combs and Zach Bryan's American Heartbreak. But I've spoken about Zach numerous times on the channel, so I wanted to shine some light on the Luke Combs album. I was actually going to review this album sometime in July, but right as I began editing my review, Grady posted his review and they were like the same darn thing. Like, even though there's no way I could have somehow copied his review, there was no way I could have released mine after his because we had the exact same points, structured it in the exact same order, and generally I just feel nearly identical to Grady when it comes to the Luke Combs album. So if you want my in-depth thoughts on the Luke Combs album, check out Grady's review because I pretty much echo every sentiment he brought forward. Probably like a 6 out of 10. So that's it. Hopefully I stayed within that elusive 8-minute mark. I had to make some cuts. I had to look at my notes a little more than I would want to. But I need to stay within that 8-minute mark, otherwise the title's gonna look really dumb. Maybe I'll just change it to 9 albums in 9 minutes, even though there's only 8, so it looks better. Or I'll just consider the fact that I mentioned American Heartbreak. Maybe that's the 9th album. So if it says 9 albums in 9 minutes, it's because American Heartbreak. Anyways, I gotta go, otherwise I'll have to resort to that, so bye!